Hi, my name is Luis Montalvo from Better Homes and Gardens, and today we're going to talk about inspections. Now, there's different type of inspections. There's a pool inspection, there's a chimney inspection, termite inspection, but today we're going to talk about building inspection. So with me, I have Mark Edwards from Property Management Inspections. How you doing, Mark?
Pretty good, Lou.
All right. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, like I said, I've been doing property inspection down here in the Contra Costa and the northern Solano area for a few years now.
So home inspection is one of the most important parts of the inspection process for transactions, for both for the seller and the buyer. Now tell me, what do you exactly cover?
Property inspection covers the exterior and interior of the home, as well as the mechanical systems, the heating and air conditioning and plumbing systems.
So for the exteriors, you're basically checking if the windows work. What else do you check?
Well, we check the actual physical condition of the siding itself. Is it cracked? Cracks could actually point out other problems with the house, foundation problems, settlement problems, things like that. In addition to that, we'll check, what the soffit material is. Do we see any wood rot there? We on the outside we'll check, the caulking around the windows, the caulking around the door jambs. Is the house weather tight, basically.
Okay, very good. And that means that you're also checking around the garage area. Do you check for the sidewalks or in the driveway, or?
Yes. Well, any walk or drive that is close to the house. I mean, walks could be set off in the back part of the yard, and we may not check those. But any ones that are close proximity to the building itself, we'll check them for tripping hazards. Whether they're broken up, they've settled over the years, what have you, and there'll be a report on that. Same with the driveway. As a matter of fact, I actually go a step further and I'll take a look at the public walk as well and report on what kind of condition it's in.
And that includes the electrical or the AC on the outside as well? Sure.
As I mentioned, included in the systems that we check are the electrical. It's one of the most important ones because, homeowners tend to like to make modifications themselves, and that's one of the first places they'll practice on. And people would like to point out whether there's been homeowner modifications done to the electrical in the house. Air conditioning wise, we check to see that it's level, because air conditioners don't work if they're beyond a certain pitch. We'll check the age of it. Whether the insulation on the suction line is there or not. Rodents like to eat them, so we'll check that as well.
Now, when it comes to the interior, you look into the entire house, obviously, right? You're inspecting the entire house?
I start in one quarter of the house and go either clockwise or counterclockwise around it. I'll check the walls. I will see if they're straight, because you can see some framing problems. Even we can't see framing. We're supposed to report on framing, but of course you can't see it because it's covered by sheetrock. But you can, looking down the side of the wall, see if it's bowed, if the members underneath have warped. And there could be other things going on with the framing of the house as well. So I'll look at that. I'll look at the ceilings to see if there are any moisture stains up there. Moisture stains are indications of the roof may be leaking, or an upstairs bathtub or shower may be leaking as well.
So you're also checking for the electrical outlets as well?
Yeah, we actually spend quite a bit of time on electrical. I'll check the outside panel, the inside panel. I'll pull the covers off, take a look to make sure the wiring correct, there's no double tapping of breakers, things like that. Coming into the home itself, I will check every one of the outlets. The requirement is a sampling, but I usually check every one of them, see if it's wired correctly, if it has an open ground or not. And the same device I use also tests to see if the GFIs in the wet areas of the house, the kitchens, the bathroom, and such are functioning correctly as well.
Very good. And now the next one is plumbing. So the plumbing, you also do a thorough job on checking that.
Yeah. Plumbing's an interesting one because most of the plumbing is hidden. Especially if it's a slab foundation, as this house, you can't examine it. It's buried under the ground. But if the house does have a raised crawl space, I go down and I check to see what type of service. Is it copper? Is it CPVC or whatever? I check to see what kind of drainage system it is. A lot of the cast iron, especially in this area, is rusting away.
Mm-hmm.
So that needs to be reported on. And I will usually refer that they have further inspection if I think it is in bad shape.
And the heating system as well?
Yes, I usually take the heating system in two parts. First, the heater itself. And most modern heaters for about the last 20 years, the heat exchangers are actually sealed now. So we can't actually look in there and see what's going on. But I'll pull the covers off. I'll write down the serial number, the model number. That'll help me ascertain how old the thing is. So the buyer will know, do I have to replace this thing anytime soon? Then I will run a test on it as well. So I'll bring it up to temperature and I'll test the supply and the return side to see that it actually meets the manufacturer's spec for the delta change from the supply to the return.
We're going backward on the question, but the water heater, do you do the same thing by taking the model and looking back how old it is?
Absolutely. Water heaters are an interesting thing. I would say 90% of them are not installed correctly. So the main thing I look for on water heaters is it installed correctly? Because even though you're supposed to get a permit for them, nobody does it. Mm-hmm. So most of the water heaters I inspect are not installed correctly. And they could be a health hazard because, if it's not vented properly, those exhaust fumes are coming into the property most likely, into the home.
So one of the inspections that you do as well is testing that the garage opens and closes properly.
Yeah, the garage, there are several aspects of the garage. There's one, electrical is pretty important out there. The codes have changed over the years to where the garage is considered a wet area. Mm-hmm. So everything needs to be a GFI protected out in the garage. So I will check that. We also have to check that the fire breaks are in place in the garage as well. There's supposed to be 5/8 inch sheetrock between the garage and the dwelling itself. That's either on the ceiling and the walls that are adjacent to the building itself. Mm-hmm. After that, I usually take a look at the garage door. I'll bring the door up, I'll take a look at it, I'll make sure all the mechanicals of the door are working fine, and I'll test the garage door opener to make sure that the safety features of the door opener are working correctly as well.
Now I notice some building inspectors, they do not go into the attic and just kind of go into the access panel, but how much of the inspection do you do in the attic?
I try to do as much as possible actually, because most roofs these days are tile and you can't really walk on them. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to be able to locate areas that might be leaking, the place to find them is in the attic.
Right.
So I try to get up there and I try to look around, and if there is a large amount of insulation up there, you can't get in there, and you're forced to examine the attic mm-hmm. from the scuttle hole. Mm-hmm. But the things that I look for up there are the bathroom vents that they actually go through the roof. What type of venting system is up there for the plumbing. Mm-hmm. But I really spend a lot of time on what's the framing like. Has it been, if a new roof has been put on that's heavier, for instance, have there been some reinforcements done to it to support something that might have carried a cedar shake roof previously? It's probably going to have some modifications made to support a cement tile roof. Right. So yeah, but mostly I'm looking for leaks up there.
Mm-hmm. I know this is a question that a buyer or seller may have. And sometimes they have a comment there, inaccessible for further inspection. Mm-hmm. Now, I know what it means, but can you elaborate a little bit about that?
Well, that could mean a lot of different things. Let's take the attic that we just talked about previously. Sometimes the access is in a closet, and the closet is just full of the homeowner's belongings, and you cannot get to it. The crawl space, for instance. The access might be outside or inside, and the same thing, there's things piled in front of it, and the home inspector is not required or not expected to move any of the customer's belongings. Mm-hmm. So inaccessible is, I can't physically get there, or it could be that, for instance, underneath the house, maybe the house has been retrofitted with a forced air air conditioning and heating system. And, the installer worked at the far end of the house and backed their way out of it, and now you cannot physically get there to examine the entire area underneath the house. That happens all the time.
Right, and I totally agree, which also includes the garage as well.
That's true, that's true. We do not move things. If there's, electrical outlets behind, shelving that someone installed in the garage, I can't get to it. I can't check it, so that's inaccessible.
Now, for us real estate agents, obviously inaccessible areas can be a little tricky because a lot of people want a full inspection. Now, if somebody requests for you to come back and re-inspect it, is that something that you would do?
Yeah, I would be happy to do that. There is an additional charge for having to come back. It's inaccessible is inaccessible.
Right, and that's typical for also other inspectors
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
Just to notify. Now, your inspection is limited to the exterior, the interior, but not the pool, not the chimney, and you're not looking for wood destroying organisms. So,
no, I'm not. But if I'm underneath the house, I will look for termite tubes and things like that, and I will not say that there's an active infestation there. I'll just say there appears to be evidence of wood destroying pests.
which I've seen other
Yeah.
building inspectors do the same thing, refer to wood destroying organism
Exactly.
inspector.
Exactly. But a lot of us will do pool inspections.
Hmm.
I will do a pool inspection.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds good. So one of the most important things for us, Mark, is receiving from you or from the inspector the inspection report.
Yeah. Again, that is the recorded assessment of the property. And we try to turn those around in 24 hours. Sometimes they slip, depending on the size of the project. This last summer I had this huge compound. It took me, 2 days just to do the property itself, and it took me another 2 days to write the report. So, it depends. But, within the report are, they usually run about 50 pages or so on the average home. And they will call out, in addition to the problematic areas, it'll also call out, what type of plumbing's in there, where the gas shut off, the electrical shut offs, and all the things you need to know to sort of as the user manual for the home are contained within the reports. But there'll always be a summary section, and in the summary section is the areas that I called out are areas of concern, either health and safety, or, maybe a heater's coming to end of life, or maybe there's a piece of cement walkway that's, could be a tripping hazard. So that'll all be in the summary section. That's usually the part that you guys are interested in.
Right. Yeah, we just want to make sure that everything has been disclosed to protect not just ourselves, the real estate agent, but also our customers.
Exactly.
Our clients.
But I always say, read the entire report, because there's actually a lot of good information in it's not bad, it's just informational stuff about the property that, I came across while I was on premises.
Very good. So again, my name is Luis Montalvo from Better Homes and Gardens, and this was a great video for building inspection. I want to thank you, Mark, so much.
Lou, it was a pleasure.
And likewise.
All right.
So thank you again, everybody.